Hi, everyone. Well, Facebook is building an audience, but we don't have time to wait for the audience tonight because it's Sunday night and some people have to go to work tomorrow. So we're just going to go straight into it. I have been getting these inbox about, I guess there's a conference that's happening sometime when someone is talking about single, saved, and still wanting sex. That's the name of the conference that's happening. Single, saved, and still wanting sex. And I guess it was someone who saw that, and he kind of gave his views on that, and talks about the hypocrisy of the church. So, I'm not lying to you. So many people have sent me that inbox me about this, and I just wanted just to pause and talk about this a little bit, because I grew up in church. I'm one of those Pentecostal babies, and this was holiness environment. And I don't regret it one bit, because I think it molded me and it shaped me into the person that I am. Hopefully they're proud of that, but it molded me into the person that I am. And all the time growing up, no one would talk about sex. Even now, I'm sure there's some people who saw my post and saw what I was talking about, and they were horrified that we were talking about holy and horny. So, you know what? I grew up in church, and in an era where you felt like if you held the hands of a man that you would become pregnant. No one touches the subject of sex. There are pastors right now that invite me to their churches, and you would mention things like oral sex in the context of marriage, and they would be appalled, like, what, we don't do that, your mouth is to praise the Lord. And there's such a level of discomfort. Not just, we're going to talk about the singles, but I'm talking about even when it comes to marriage. It's why is everybody in an uproar because someone is talking about sex? And I'm going to say the word over and over and over again, because there's nothing wrong with it. I grew up in a culture where you felt like, just the thought about it, and nobody understands the mental anguish it places on, especially a female who keeps herself until marriage. And all the years, let's say she is 30, and for all the years growing up in church since she's 5, and she could understand, you should not have sex, you should not be around boys, it's so negative. And then she falls in love with someone who loves God. They're not sexually intimate, and there's a big wedding reception, and everybody is in the wedding, and it's great, everybody's there, there are gifts and everything else. And what happens next is everybody goes home, and this woman who grew up in a culture, in a home, in a church environment where she has heard all her life how negative this is, how bad it is, how much she should stay away from it. These people with their evil self, they would leave her and this man alone without little or no counseling. And she has to transition from a place where mentally, emotionally, a place where she thought and felt that sex was bad, it was nasty. How on God's green earth is she supposed to transition mentally and emotionally and be able to satisfy herself and her husband in a matter of 2 hours? Do you guys understand? When we don't talk about it, it does not go away. So all her life, listen to this scenario, all her life, she's heard that this is something that is so bad, This is something that she should stay away from. And in a matter of 2 hours, the time that it takes to have a wedding ceremony, the expectation is she should do a mental and emotional and biological shifting of her paradigm to be able to go into a relationship with a man on that night. You understand what I'm saying? So 30 years of abstinence, 30 years of hearing how bad it is, 30 years of abstaining and binding, and a lot of times we're going to talk about binding, going to the altar and binding this thing up. And after a ceremony that may last 2 hours, she's placed into a house, into a home with a man who's looking at her and asking her to take her clothes off and satisfy him. And not only satisfy him, I'm not saying that in a negative way, but even satisfy herself. How is she supposed to do that? That is not a transition that is easy. Granted, we're in an era where most people, whether in the church or not, they've dibbled and dabbled with that. But there are the saints, there are the ones who have kept themselves. And when the church says that we cannot talk about sexual intimacy, when the church is uncomfortable with talking about how to perform oral sex with your husband, with your spouse, when the church is uncomfortable with pleasing and finding out where the sweet spots are in your body, when people are uncomfortable with that, how are we supposed to transition? Now, granted, people have said that, it comes naturally. If you have been single for a long time, it does not come naturally. You can hurt yourself. You go, I can't say it. I will say it. You can hurt. You try, you see, your husband, especially if he's been experienced, says, okay, it's time for oral sex. If you don't know what you're doing, you will hurt somebody. And those are the things that if somebody is really big and there's no lubrication, there's pain. How do we not spend the time, the money, the efforts, and speak to these people and counsel with them candidly and let them know that this is how you respond? It does not happen vicariously. It does not just happen, you just lay there and you something is a receptacle and something is you put something into a space and that's it. That's not it. That's not it. So I don't want to rant and rave too much, but I want to talk about the singles. I think the conference that has been spoken about is talking about the fact that although you are saved, sanctified, Holy Ghost filled, it does not negate the fact that there are times that you are horny. I said the word horny. That is a natural thing. That is a natural thing. Someone asked me this week after seeing the ad, what do you do? What do you do when you feel that? And I'll tell you from a professional standpoint. I'll tell you as a woman of God. I will tell you as a person who is single. You put it on pause. You put it on pause, but do not go to the pastor and ask him to bind it. It is not a demonic attack. The feeling of horniness, especially for women at certain times of the month, that is not something, it's not the devil. It is a natural biological response. Can I tell you tonight that if you do not feel that kind of way, if you don't feel those sexual urges, something is wrong. Something is wrong with you biologically. Something is wrong. So don't tell me that we cannot have a conference where we talk about that, where we say, where I could come to you and say, you know what, I feel horny right now. Why would that make me unsaved? Why would that make me less than a Christian? Why would that mean that I'm not spiritual? Because you do not want to speak about it in your church, because you ignore it. it does not mean that it goes away. And a lot of times, the people who look more holy than everybody else, they're saying that is bad because they're getting some. But those of us who are abstaining, we have to be able to say, yo, somebody help me through this, and understand that there are times that this is how I feel. One of the fruit of the Spirit is self-control. What I'm supposed to do is to speak to my body and say, listen, we don't have anybody to satisfy this legally right now. So I like the fact that I feel this, but you gotta chill. Speak to your body. Speak to your sexual organs. Speak to it. Don't bind it. Just say, listen, pause. In due season, your time will come to explore and to be satisfied. Right now, I need to put you on pause, but don't you dare go bind it. And I rebuke, I recant anybody who would want to make you feel that you are demon possessed because you have sexual thoughts. You can have the thoughts. What you do with them is what would be consequential to your relationship with God. Do I think about sex? Yes, I do. When I think about it, I say, this is such a beautiful thing. Can't wait. But it does not mean that I cannot. It is normal. It is natural. It is the way that our body is made. It's not a demonic attack of the enemy. The reason we have called things sin because we do not want to address it. Now, listen to me. If it was a sin, if it was a horrible thing, don't you think it's wisdom to have a conference, to have a workshop where somebody can talk about it? There are people who have been, and they're faithful to the Lord. Faithful. I know women who are in their 50s and who are virgins. They've never been with a man. Now, in 50 years, 55 years, you're telling me that it is ungodly for the thought to cross their mind. And I want to say to some of you pastors, you are causing some people to remain single because they cannot relax in the presence of God. The thing that is normal and natural, the biological functions of the body, you are calling sin, and you're causing people to be in a kind of bondage that God did not desire us to be. Tell us how to manage these feelings. There's some people who are married and they have children and they're so holy. You wonder how on earth did they ever come together to have a child. There's some people who, you need to be able to talk to married couples and tell them about different positions, different sexual, how to explore different parts of their bodies, how to be free, how to listen to something other than blessed assurance in the bedroom. Come on. Now, if I knew where that conference was, I would be going there and listening and learning and sharing. That's what we need to do. So stop the shenanigans. Stop it. Sex is beautiful. Sex is beautiful. It's something that we should be experiencing in marriage. Until then, every now and then I have the thought of it. My body responds to a great smelling man, good looking man. It does. I don't run out and do anything about it, but don't you dare tell me that I am not saved, I'm not holy because I'm horny. Yeah, I said it. It is manageable. It is manageable, but don't, and sisters and brothers, stop the shenanigans. The devil is not coming at you. Wet dreams for men does not, go do the research. It is not stimulated by always stimulated by sexual thoughts. I had 2 sons and I thought, oh my gosh, by the time they were having wet dreams, like, oh my gosh, what is this happening? Oh, my sons are maybe looking at pornography, but there's a natural outlet for the body. So everything is not the devil. Come on, the devil is innocent in this particular case. I stand in defense of him. It's not always that. So calm down. Calm yourself down. Sexual urges, sexual desires are beautiful. It's beautiful. If I can sit down and I can think about being married and thinking about my honeymoon and, buying lingerie and all of that, why are you trying to tell me that I should not think about how beautiful it would be to have a man hold me, to think and to be able to think about how great that is? And don't tell me if I think too much of it and it will be sin. One of the things, and I'm going to end here. I'm going to end here because I'm talking too much. One of the things that's very important for people who are dating in their older years, people who have been married and have experienced sex before, one of the very important things when you're dating, especially you get to the place where you're engaged and you know that this is a person that you want to spend the rest of your life, is one of the most important things to do is to have that conversation about sex. And not only have the conversation, make a decision together that this is not going to happen until you get married. When you do that, it should eliminate this fear that if you stay in the same room together in the house, that somehow that demon is going to come and overtake you. That's a lack of self-control. And what's really important is to get to know the person, and that means spending time with them. It means taking road trips, going on vacation. I'm not telling you that, everybody's level of what they can tolerate is different. If somebody touch your finger and, you want to jump in the bed with them, something is wrong with you. But I'm saying let's take away the fear and the anxiety that has been placed on sexual intimacy, and let us be able to enjoy ourselves. Let us be able to go on a weekend trip as, you're in your 40s, you're dating someone, you guys have decided that this is really serious. One of the things that's very important is spending time together. So you go on a trip together. You don't have to think, oh my gosh, if I'm in the car with him, and, we're going to have sex. Or if we go and we stay in the same house, oh my gosh, we're going to have sex. It's not a demon. It's not a spirit that just kind of jumps on you and then boom, you're there. It's not that serious. It's a beautiful thing. Single man or woman, come on, take that bondage off. And I know you guys are going to be giving me the heat. There are pastors who would not allow me to come into their church because I speak clearly about this. I talk about masturbation and toys and all that. We have to tell our young people, don't mess around with dildos. You can lose your virginity with dildos. Dildos and vibrators, they're two different things. We need to teach people about this. Hiding behind a mask and pretending that people don't have questions is wrong. Sex is an art. And if you know how to do it really, really well, why would you not share? Why would you tell me that I need to go watch the animals who do it naturally? Why would you tell me that I just need to figure it out while I'm hurting myself? Gosh, have you ever... Listen. For someone who has been single for a long time, someone who has never had sexual intimacy, the first time you do this, you need some coaching, because that pain can give you a psychological, put you in a place where you hate sex. Some men will tell you right now that their wives say they don't like it. It hurts, and what is happening is there is not the knowledge of how to deal with someone for the first time, how important lubrication is. I know people say some people don't need foreplay, and of course sometimes you don't, but you have to figure that out. There's a gentleness, there's a process. It's not just put it in and pull it out. That's not it. There's an art. All right, I'm going to stop now, but ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Cheryll Hope, and there are times that I'm holy but horny. I love Jesus, and it has nothing to do with the devil. All right? You can be single, saved, and still think about sex. It doesn't mean that you have a demonic oppression. It just means that you're normal. Embrace it. Put it on pause until you're married and you can use it. But don't cast it away. Don't bind it. Loose it. Enjoy it. Think about it and smile, because some people can't. All right, I'm going to leave you guys alone. It's Sunday night. Have a good night. And those of you who are mad at me, oh well. God has placed me here to speak the truth. And the shenanigans need to stop. There are people who are single, saved, and think about sex, and they don't do nothing about it. Peace out. Deuces.